After being diagnosed with a chronic illness, can grief live alongside depression, or does grief cause depression after a new diagnosis? If you watch this video to the very end, you'll learn the answers to that question. Thank you for taking a moment to watch this. My name is Mike Veny, and if you are new to this channel, welcome. I regularly share brand new videos, and I invite you to subscribe so you don't miss this opportunity. I am a certified corporate wellness specialist, author, speaker, course instructor, and the CEO of Mike Veny Inc. I am not, however, a mental health professional. If you are thinking of harming yourself or someone else, or are in need of medical help, please consult a doctor. If you are in an emergency, please call 911. A question came from ibdlife.com, where I had the honor of participating in an Ask Me Anything conversation about grief and chronic illness. IBD stands for Inflammatory Bowel Disease, and IBD Life is a powerful network of IBD patients, care partners, and experts. There's a link to ibdlife.com in the description, and the question was this. After being diagnosed with a chronic illness, can grief live alongside depression, or does grief cause depression after a new diagnosis? Now, my answer, as usual, is going to be complicated, but I think there's some things to keep in mind. Number one, it's important to understand what depression is. According to the National Institute of Mental Health's website, depression, also called major depressive disorder or clinical depression, is a common but serious mood disorder. It causes severe symptoms that affect how you feel, think, and handle daily activities, such as sleeping, eating, or working. I've put a link in the description if you're looking for more information on depression. Personally, I know depression well. At its worst, it's completely debilitating, and at its best, it's manageable enough so I can function. For most of my life, I've had major depressive disorder and had to work really hard to find tools and hacks and strategies just to feel okay enough to function. Number two, understand what grief is. Grief is simply the pain of losing someone or something. Number three, understand the similarities between grief and depression. Grief may actually have several of the same symptoms in common with the symptoms of depression, including intense sadness, insomnia, poor appetite, and weight loss. Now, number four, understand the differences between the two. Grief tends to actually decrease over time and occurs in waves that are triggered by thoughts or reminders of its cause. Depression, however, is more pervasive and persistent throughout all situations. If you have any questions, by the way, about grief or depression, please leave a comment below and ask your question. Number five, left untreated, grief can cause depression or make it worse. And number six, regardless of all of this, it's impossible to analyze what's going on without the help of a mental health professional. It's critical to find the right therapist or counselor and see them regularly. I want to share something with you that I have not shared ever on video, and I don't know, I just feel like now's the right moment because of what we're talking about. So I've been dealing with major depressive disorder for my entire life, and I mean, I can tell you some stories of just how debilitating it's been. And what's really interesting about it is you can't see it. It's not something that someone can see. It's something that my therapist has helped me work through, and my psychiatrist helps me work through, and my support group helps me work through, but it's really, really difficult. And several years ago, I had some things happen where I lost some people and some things in my life all around the same time. We're talking within 6 months. And it was a lot of loss. And that compounded with my major depressive disorder wreaked havoc on my life. I mean, I spiraled into one of the darkest places that I've ever been to. And it was so traumatic that it affected my brain. It affected my brain. And one of the challenges that I experienced during that time was I lost my sense of identity. Like, I didn't know who I was. I mean, I knew who I was. I could tell you my name is Mike and where I lived and all that stuff, but I felt like I was walking around in someone else's body, and it was a very scary feeling. And so I really struggled through a period of intense grief and depression at the same time. And, you know, at any given moment, I couldn't tell you what was going on necessarily, but fortunately, I not only had my therapist, but I started working with a psychiatrist and another therapist to really help me sort through some of the stuff. And I mean, it's been about 5-6 years now since this has all happened, and I'm still working through it. I still am. But I will tell you this, I could be having an okay day where my depression is manageable and see something that triggers one of the people or things that I lost, and it can send me into a spiral of sadness. It could have me shaking. It could have me angry and anxious. I don't know. And then there are certain days where I'm not thinking about any of that, and my depression is just heavy, and it's hard for me to get out of bed in the morning, So it's important to realize that this is something that you need to explore with someone else, and it's something that you can work through. I'll be honest with you, if someone had told me that 6 years ago, I would have been like, no, this is never going to get better. This is just getting worse. It just felt like it was always getting worse. But I promise you there is gold on the other side if you're willing to do the work. So grief and depression just hang out in the same house. And in summary, it's important to understand what depression is, understand what grief is, understand the similarities between the two, understand the differences between the two, and remember that left untreated, grief can cause depression or make it worse. And it's so important to find the right therapist or counselor to help you through it all. You cannot do this alone. So if you liked this video, please click that like button. If you want to share it with your friends, please do so. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.